Okay guys, so did you hear about the Ohio cheerleader who was charged with unaliving her baby and then burying it? Let's talk about it. So over on the far right is Skylar Richardson. And in 2017, the Richardsons were living a really nice life. They lived in Carlisle, Ohio, really small town, population 5,000. Skylar and her brother both excelled at sports, Skylar being cheerleading. But behind all the smiling photographs, there was actually a lot of turmoil. Skylar was battling an eating disorder. She was a flyer on the cheerleading team, and she wanted to be as light as possible. In fact, Skylar's mom noticed her eating problem or eating disorder originally in 6th grade. That's how far back. She said at 12 years old, she wouldn't even buy gum or eat a stick of gum because it had 5 calories in it. The Richardsons tried everything for years to help Skylar. They took her to doctors. She was eventually diagnosed with body dysmorphia as well as other mental disorders. And she's always said to have a lot of secrets. But in 2016, the summer right before Skylar's senior year, she started dating a friend's cousin. It was short-lived, and by January of 2017, Skylar had moved on to a new relationship with a boy named Brandon. The family noticed that she seemed really happy, that the two just clicked. She even seemed like she was starting to put on a little bit of weight. And then a month later, they went and tried on prom dresses. This was a lace-up one, and she thought she looked great in it. By March, the family went on a vacation where she wore her 2-piece bikini, and her mom was telling her that she looked great. They were so happy that she was starting to stabilize in her weight. In fact, Skylar's mom knew that Brandon and her were so happy that she kind of figured that things were heating up. So she decided to take her to a gynecologist to get on birth control. Now, because she was 18, Skylar got to go into the doctor's office alone. Now, Skylar's mom says that when she came out of the room, she looked like she had been crying, but she figured that it was just from the stress of her first exam and appointment. But come to find out, it was really for a whole other... You see, Skylar had gotten a pregnancy test, and it came back positive. The doctor had told Skylar that she was 8 months pregnant, which means that she was 6 and 7 months pregnant in those two photos. Now, Skylar had told the gynecologist that she didn't want to tell anybody anything, and she figured she had at least 10 weeks to figure things out. So on May 5th, she went to the prom with Brandon, and here you can see her in the picture on the right. But less than 48 hours later, in the early morning hours of May 7th, the unthinkable happened. Skylar went into labor. In the middle of the night, Skylar had her baby alone. She didn't call 911. So apparently the baby was white and the umbilical cord was not attached. She swaddled the baby. She holds her for a moment and she names her Annabelle. Then she goes downstairs, she grabs a shovel and she goes to the tree line and she digs a shallow grave burying Annabelle. She buried her daughter and marked it with a flower pot. Now, according to the prosecution, Richardson went to the gym hours after giving birth and even photographed herself and her midsection, where she sent a text to her mom and said, quote, "I'm literally so excited now just for dinner to wear something cute. My belly is back now. I am taking this opportunity to make it amazing." Now, on July 12, 2017, Skylar was taken back to the gynecologist to get more birth control. She did see a different doctor, and this doctor looked at her chart and asked her what had happened to the baby. Now, surprisingly, Skylar told Dr. Boyce that she had buried the baby in the backyard. She's quoted as saying, "I have to ask you, the last time you were here, you were pregnant, and you're no longer pregnant. What happened?" And Skylar said, "I had it alone in my house, and I buried it in my backyard." She also told the doctor that she didn't tell anyone, and she refused an examination, although the doctor insisted on one, saying that things might have changed or there might have been damage, and she said she doesn't want anybody to know anything about this. Of course, the doctor had to report this to police, so she did, and the police started an investigation. At first, Skylar tried to deny everything, but little by little, pieces came out of her saying what she had done, and they even asked her if the baby was alive. Skylar insisted that the baby was not alive and that the baby was born unalived and that it scared her and she just wanted to give the baby a proper burial. But then there was some of her interrogation where she did say that there was a gurgling sound that came out of the baby and maybe she squeezed it too tight. It didn't hold up in court because it was said that That word gurgle was given to her by the interrogation people. The family went through hell for 2 years being harassed while they came up with their trial. And ultimately, Skylar was found not guilty because the prosecution could not prove that the baby was alive at the time of birth. In fact, Judge Oda has said, "I firmly believe, Miss Richardson. In fact, I know in my heart that if you would have made different decisions, Annabelle would be here today. But I think that your choices before birth, during birth, and after show a grotesque disregard for life." So after a lengthy trial, she was sentenced to 3 years of community control, but it doesn't end there. In 2019, most of the charges were successfully sealed on her record. She was officially acquitted of unaliving the newborn because prosecutors were never able to prove that the child was alive at the time of birth. Where is Skylar now? She is now working for her lawyers, father and son team, Charlie and Charlie Ritters.